Witness the powerful house meeting where everything comes to a crossroads. Plus, who will end up on the block, who will be evicted, and who will become the next head of household.
I'm sorry, it was foolish.
I poured my entire heart and soul into this relationship.
And that's just not somebody that I want to have babies with.
It's just not somebody you want to have babies with, but we're just getting started here tonight on Super Mader Brothers podcasting here on this Thursday, September 1st, 2022, for the Week 8 eviction in the Big Brother 24 house. We're streaming live here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, or you might be listening to us the audio version. I'm Dave Mader, joined with co-host Jaemeel Robinson. We're here to break down an emotional one, as the announcer had mentioned there, the emotional house meeting. A powerful thing that will shake it to its core. Are you saying something, Jaemeel, or are you talking to your computer?
On a very special Big Brother 24.
On a very special. Like the announcers normally like Festy Bestie or whatever, right? And this is something else. As we continue the fallout here of the revelation that we've known for some time in the live feeds, or if you're following those things, that what Kyle had pitched this. I'm guessing you just saw the new HOH there, Jaemeel. Is that what your reaction was?
No, I got a notice from my computer saying a restart is required, and I'm like, don't restart.
Yeah,
not now.
It's required though. Yeah, a lot to break down, but here Kyle goes out 5-0 as he is the renom here because that wasn't set after this last episode. This was episode 25 of the series. And in episode 24, we hadn't seen the veto meeting because we get this other house meeting first that takes up quite a bit of the episode. Jaemeel, what's your sort of just reaction overall to this episode overall tonight?
I pretty much said everything last episode. I know portions of it were in the spoilers. Folks, okay. One of the things I was very interested to see was Terrence's reaction, because they did mention that it was a very strong one, and I felt that Terrence did a great job of kind of sussing out the BS of a lot of things. One, of what Kyle did, and two, Michael, the opportunistic situation that Brittany and Michael, fell into during this sequence and situation. So wow, who would ever thought Terrence would have been all-star?
Terrence is the one to kind of break this all down. Well, he's the oldest house guest there, and maybe has some perspective, right? Has some life experience he can share there. I think that Terrence had some good moments in this episode. There was a lot of emotions, a lot of crying in this one. I'm still processing all of this, like on how, who's guilty of what punishment is fitting to them, and what is also BS. And I think the house was trying to sort that out in this meeting. I think the whole audience is,
and you can understand why they didn't show this, because it kind of kills your first half an hour of this episode. If they put like the veto or even the meeting in the last episode, you're like, well, yeah, Kyle's gone.
right. So they had to save this. I get it a bit here. It was, yeah. Okay, let's just talk. I got some shots. Maybe we can just quickly. So Julie tonight, and I know.
I thought we were going to talk. I knew you would bring this up. You know what I called this shirt?
What's that?
I was in a hurry and I still need to put on deodorant. That's what I called that shirt.
I liked the shirt. Really? It's a little bit different. Yeah, I thought it was. I didn't mind. I liked the shoulders, but it's not necessarily the best she's ever done, but it's not terrible either. But yeah, I wasn't down on it. But yeah, so Julie's here. Maybe this was a little bit more, less celebratory in outfit. She was trying to go. This is business tonight. This is maybe more business casual. What else can we talk about in this?
Next.
But when we started this episode, technically it's still Taylor and Brittany on the block,
which they kept showing them. Like, did they have them like, you guys? We just need to do some shots of you all here. Just sit there for a bit so we can cut in and out of commercial with that view.
Brittany, can you please move to the block couch for these segments, right? and why? I was already taken off. I was vetoed days ago. No. The audience doesn't know that yet.
You could just look at how everyone's dressed. It's like, who's on the veto and who is it?
Right. Like Taylor's dressed just in case she's going to get evicted. She's going out in style here. Brittany is not dressed for an eviction.
No.
She's dressed for an HOH comp, so correct. That's a giveaway there. And then we kind of get into the episode itself. Although, like, there's this little tease here. I had to get a shot of just with Julie kind of saying Michael and Brittany and what the bombshell they put onto the house here, right? And that's kind of the segue because we're coming where we kind of pick up in the episode in terms of like the recap is this conversation here with Kyle and Brittany. All right, where he's like, why are you saying this information? Why are you putting this around? And Brittany's kind of saying, like, this is what you said. You made this, right? Like, he's like, well, that wasn't my intention. I wasn't trying to create like a race war. And she's like, well, that's how it came across. And I tried to tell you about it, right? And we flash back to this day 43 conversation. And for context, what was today? Like day 57 or something like that, or 58?
It's literally 2 weeks ago. Because it was like right on the cusp of it was during the initial conversation with Michael was during his HOH, which was 3 weeks ago, technically, the week of.
Right. And even this conversation that they replay is like watching it back. Like, I'm like, Brittany doesn't seem to have, she's like, I tried to tell you, Kyle, and you just wouldn't hear it. You wouldn't hear it. And I'm like, that's not what this conversation recap said to me. Like she just, all she said is like, she would be shocked, sort of, it would be a huge deal if it did come to that or to something like that. And I don't know, like, I guess the question is like, does Kyle kind of like deserve what he got here, in all of this or not? I guess is one of my questions.
I feel like the presentation of this was a little unfair because there was more to this conversation and also there were other conversations.
Well, I'll give you a hint, Don. It wasn't Taylor. So
well, she didn't know who the veto
or you might even know the veto was used on Brittany by Michael, and Turner renommed Kyle, and Kyle was evicted 5-0. If you're looking for the news here. Yeah. Right.
So it wasn't entirely fair just to show this small snippet of it because one, he did have multiple conversations with Michael about it, and he was a lot more. You saw a little bit of it mentioned, but it was very straightforward in terms of it. And Michael really did say no, right?
Okay, but so why not show us that though?
Because are they going to show all four conversations?
I guess whatever. It depends on how you want to frame this, right? And I guess it depends if you want to sort of save Kyle's character reputation or whatever, or not.
You at this point, though, he's out of the game. How do you serve anything by showing explicit mentions of what he said versus?
That's just me. I tend to agree. I think, like, based on what you've told me about what's not been shown, that they could have buried Kyle even further than was done here, because he came out of this looking not great, of course, but
he already started his PR campaign.
Yeah, his apology tour was on the full get-go in this episode. He's just, I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to do here.
Do you have any advice for me?
Like,
do you have any advice for Kyle?
That just reeks of like company psychologist and PR team just like work. Like, I'm not questioning his sincerity, right? But we are imperfect beings, and we don't always say the right things all the time. Especially, it's very hard to eloquently detail what we're thinking and feeling, and it seemed way too polished, right? And I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm saying CBS prepped, right, him. He maybe asked for
this
it,
is what you need to say. This is how you have to
yeah.
deal with these conversations if you want to have a hope of coming out of this.
And so just as Turner is calling out the Michael and Brittany timing, I also, the presentation of Kyle, he's walking around with the blanket like he's Linus.
Yeah. He's got the blanket everywhere he goes. Every conversation he's having with people, it's almost like this.
I'm like, bro, please put it down. Please. Please. Like he's like walking and his head is down all the time. Right.
Kyle admitted it was all about race. Okay.
Like,
well, do you mean in the episode, or is there something on the feed?
In general, and I think they beat around the bush in this episode, but he did. When he was saying it, right, he admitted it's about race.
Well, okay, and this whole comment he makes tonight about, well, but Taylor, when you refused to put up Jasmine because she was because you didn't want to put up another black woman, he almost makes this case in the House meeting. This is a little later in the episode that kind of opened the door for him. But I'm like, well, but I don't know where you're going with that. Like, that's just, I guess that's where he started to get more paranoid. And the cookout was last season, guys. Like, it was, right? So is it irrational to consider that it could happen again?
It isn't irrational, but as Monty was pointing out, he's like, I don't know how you make that leap given the individuals involved. And it's not like Kyle was like removed from individuals who were connected to that portion. Like, it's not like he didn't know what was going through Monty's head. So it's like, okay, well, it's everyone else except Monty. But then once it's everyone else except Monty, it kind of falls apart because it's like, okay, well, it's Joseph. Well, Joseph is really close with Taylor all of a sudden. Okay. What about Terrence? Was there any connection? Well, maybe it's a Big D situation and they're antagonistic against each other, right? But at the same time, they have reasons to stick together. Right. Jasmine, did you really think that Jasmine was with Taylor?
No, that definitely not, right?
Well, and that's where it kind of falls apart, where you're taking a massive leap, and that bridge to support to get to that other platform, that decision is a pretty messed up kind of bridge to make it. And that's what Monty was kind of talking about and how it hurt him.
Right. And Mary is making an interesting point here too. But if you look at the way Taylor was treated early on in the game, and we had a lot of conversation around colorism and things like that were coming up in the early stages of this, early weeks of this game, that there's maybe more to this than we maybe think on the surface, right? Like that everything's copacetic, but maybe it's not. Maybe there are some insecurities and issues here that still need to be brought out and talked about, because
there's a lot of issues with this entire cast, with how Michael and Brittany thought that this was currency that they can use in terms of gameplay. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if that after that veto meeting and Kyle in the room where he's like, bye Kyle, I'm like, that is tasteless, dude. That, like, come on, like, really? How they treated Taylor, has that really been addressed? And that's going to be at the end of the season kind of mention, but that also includes how Monty basically went along with the crowd, and you kind of see like the reasoning behind it. He kind of mentions it there, how he did a lot of worked with a lot of individuals outside of his race when he was going to school, and he seemingly learned more about them, like he was blending, like he was trying to survive the best way he can, right? Like a chameleon, right? We haven't talked at all about how Terrence was talking about Taylor and his feelings and issues with Taylor itself, right? Then you have how Kyle and Alyssa and the whole messed up relationship they had overall, because look, it ain't just Kyle that's at fault in that terms of relationship. It's also Alyssa too, because like they both need to separately see counsel. Like,
oh yeah.
But in general, side note, folks, mostly everyone does too. So let's.
Yeah, and then Mary, if you look at the point, Big D and Tiffany, who would have ever thought they were working together, right? So I guess but
there were bridges in between. The bridges here seem a lot more.
Well, I guess here's one question I have: is it okay to make an all girls alliance?
Okay. I always know these conversations
with
coming,
this, right? But if you form an alliance based on whatever, like what I guess
East Coast Alliance,
an East Coast Alliance, okay, or a Midwest Alliance. So geography, gender is fair game, and race is a fair game, but only if you're in the minority.
No.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. No, right? Because when it comes, and I'm going to ask you some questions afterwards too, because I'm really interested in the situation. Right? People are going to gravitate with other people based upon reasons. I got to use that
things that they feel they have a connection over.
Connection over, whether it be we're all lawyers, or we're all cops, or we're from California, from New York,
Instagram models, or
yes,
whatever.
We all want to get insta famous, right? Mm-hmm. There's going to be binding lines throughout the entire thing, right? Entire situation, right? People are going to suss out those situations and going to make guesses. The issue that we're running into, though, is that even prior to the cookout, right, there were situations where assumptions were made. We, as a society, were not able to properly talk about those situations because, one, there typically isn't that many POCs on Big Brother
or most reality shows
or
until
in
recently.
General, right?
Yeah.
And then the cookout was possibly the first time there was a large when I talked about it last season, and I'll also mention at the beginning of this season, there's going to be a situation where people are going to make that assumption, right? They're going to. The way this season was going, that assumption was going to be totally false. Right?
Question for Mary is: before last year, was there had a POC ever come in second place? I know
the history better. Well, a POC has won, mind you, multiple times.
Yeah, right? But specifically been the runner-up.
Didn't what's her name? I don't want to go to. I'm gonna go.
Well, I guess the question being if you were a POC in the past, especially I think in the last until more recently, let's say a couple years ago, because now there's a higher diversity quotient within the casting, which I think is a positive thing. But in case we were podcasting about all of these shows, whether it be Big Brother Canada, Survivor, and Big Brother USA, especially last season. And when it was looked at as an opportunity, because normally you're a minority, you're kind of voted out early has been sort of the traditional thing, or not looked out for. It was that whole thing that Claire talked about when she was evicted last year. And so, but it really only came together last year in Big Brother. They talked about it in Big Brother Canada, and they kind of talked about it in Survivor, but it never really materialized. And it was kind of a miracle it worked out last season. Anyway, because
Danielle Reyes is the one that people usually think of. She lost, right, to Lindsay Donahue, right?
Right. Is it normal on Canada? Right.
Okay. So, Big Brother Canada had a runner-up in its first season that was a POC.
He should have won.
He should have won.
He should have won. Only because his friend was an idiot.
Hold on. How did he lose? He lost because the POC in the jury did not listen to the POC host about how you're supposed to vote, and she voted for the wrong person.
Topaz, we explained to this how this works, Topaz.
And she tried to storm the stage to get it changed. Right?
Yeah, and so what was the one who won in the end? Caitlin or no? What was it?
No, it was Heather. Was it Heather?
She was a Nova Scotia. Jillian, wasn't it Jillian? Yeah,
yes.
Jillian, Nova Scotian.
Yes.
Lass. She won instead, but it was like it came down to one vote, and his ride or die, who was on the jury, voted for the wrong person.
Mary, look it up. Big Brother Canada Topaz. Look it up. Laugh and enjoy. Right.
Yeah.
Gary Glitter was the one who lost.
Right.
Now,
and Tashawn was the first person of color to win, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But it should have been Gary Glitter in the first place. But
but the thing with Tashawn that's hilarious is there was a lot of POCs in that season too, in season 9. And his alliance was another POC guy and a white woman, right?
Yeah.
And what was the thing?
The isosceles triangle.
Yes,
the sauce. Yeah, I would have to look up the Jensen quotes to find that one. Hold on.
The final 3 was who? It was Tashawn.
Tashawn. It was what's his name? Oh man, it's been a minute.
Wasn't Kiefer. Kiefer was 4th, wasn't it?
No, the guy that was in love with him at the end there.
Oh, yes.
You know who
yes. I mean. So like once again, as many of the POCs came, people didn't really a cookout situation didn't come in. It's like a hurricane, right? There's a lot of things that occur for it to occur. Survivor 41, there was all Black Alliance that was there for a period of time, but it quickly fell apart because people are different, regardless of their races. Same thing if Cops R Us broke up, right? Like stuff like that. They come and they go. All Guys Alliances are together until they're not, right? A brigade comes around and they stick together to the end.
Sure.
Right.
So if you form an alliance like the Pound, which is based on just kind of the more masculine guys, if you want to characterize it as such, I guess, maybe not Turner, but
Turner doesn't base, so that's masculine,
I guess. Yeah. So but like the more bro-y guys, however you want to put it, they got together. That's okay, right? So like obviously there's a lot of things that are going on, but I think in general making races or alliances based on race is probably not a good idea. No matter which side or what race you belong to, but I don't know. I can't make that decision for everybody. But the fact that Kyle pitched an all-white alliance, and the way he characterized it, it was like, well, I already had a great relationship with Michael and Brittany, and also with Alyssa, and also with Turner. So it just kind of, and then the rest of them were like, whoa, we were not into this.
But once again, Michael and Brittany said no. But at the same time, they didn't want to rock the boat with Kyle because they wanted to team up or have the ability to team up with Kyle and Alyssa to play the middle. That's why they sat on it, and that's why they're not to escape blame on this situation. Don't just dip the paintbrush and paint Kyle. You also need to if you want to get a smaller brush, you can do around the edges for Michael and Brittany.
But Jaemeel, this wasn't a gay move.
This is not a smart game move. No one wins in this situation. Literally, no one in this room wins.
So I answered this. I asked this question to you. I asked if Turner decided to put up Monty, does Brittany and Michael win?
If Turner had decided like Monty this week,
to put up Monty instead of Kyle.
Well, it'd be good for their game if Monty went up, right?
Yeah, because either Monty's gone, who wasn't a part of the after party technically,
right?
Or Taylor goes home, who's on the other side of Turner. So, an alliance with Brittany and Michael. So, how is it not a good game move?
Oh yeah, it completely. Yeah, because Turner's hands were tied effectively, right?
Yes,
and he had to kind of go along with this. Yeah, like no, like and the fact that he was like by Kyle in the pantry there.
That just pissed me off so much.
Yeah, and just like I think Michael rather. I think the way we're going to look back on Michael is going to be interesting. It's going to depending on what the final result is. I think if he wins or not.
I've already mentioned it before. I hope he doesn't win. He's played a great second place game, and in all instances, with the exception of one, I say that he loses. Babies. I don't know if you're talking about Alyssa and the babies, but I want to talk about that because I mentioned it.
Oh, we will get to that, Holly.
And that's just not somebody that I want to have babies with.
Yeah. Can we talk? Okay, but like, just there's so much that in this episode to talk about, and we're kind of jumping around. But like,
before we go any further, I want to ask you: did this episode make you feel uncomfortable?
Did it make me feel uncomfortable? A little. Not so much I couldn't watch it or anything. It wasn't cringy. I didn't get into cringe territory, but I was definitely. It was not like a happy-go-lucky, like goofy episode by any means. So it wasn't. It was.
I just
heavy.
I just feel that some of these conversations and the implications can be very hard for non-POCs because it seems like if it was the fear of the accusation, I see the same thing with like how some men react to the Me Too movement,
right?
And it's like it's a scary time, as they would say, because the accusation is almost just as bad as actually being a criminal and doing the crime.
Well, it's like that feeling like you're going to lose all your friends or your community or whatever it might be, and that you're going to be sort of outcast. And like the fact that Alyssa kind of does that to him, and also like there was how the different house guests reacted to this information. I think was interesting. Like I think Alyssa is. We'll talk about her in a minute, but I think Monty was interesting because I thought it came through. I thought what Monty was saying to Kyle rang really true. I thought that Monty was saying like, dude, like he was acknowledging the fact that the cookout was last year. He's like, but how would you think that I wasn't working with you, Kyle? Right? Was what he's kind of like, we've been through this. We've been the pound. We've been kind of bros since the beginning. And then I find out this, and it kind of shook Monty. And I was like, I think Monty's right. Like, is any way you want to look at this, if you want to try to play devil's advocate for Kyle, I think that Monty kind of just lays it out and goes, this is bullshit, man. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you think that I'm working with Terrence or, whatever, right? Like, it's just not the case. And so I think that Monty had the best sense of it.
Yeah, and Monty was like stupid loyal, too loyal, honestly, for his own damn good throughout this damn game. And you're like, Monty, do something. And he's just like, no, leftovers. Like he was just so like, first it was just a pound, and the next thing is leftovers. And he was just, him and Turner were just like in this like you thought there was like they were like in a cage, right? Like, and they were like, no, we can't go out until the leftovers are done. We can't do anything. It seemed like they were unwilling to move, whereas Kyle and Michael and Brittany had at least that flexibility. Even Joseph had that flexibility to kind of, move around. Monty, of all people, should have been the one that they're like, I like, it's not Monty though, right? Because Monty's with me, so damn with him.
Yeah, right. And then moving on, like there's that whole conversation with Kyle and Monty and Terrence in the have not room, right? That kind of comes up later when you were he kind of talks about how you looked at him there. And then like we get this meeting here in the kitchen that seems like this is all the same day, right? This is all in the same day. I still don't think I can wrap my head around why they did it today. Talk about Michael and Brittany, as opposed to when it happened 2 weeks ago. As much as we want to blame Kyle, and there he is. And this is where they get the house meeting kind of going on here, which is what comes to fruition. We get a commercial break actually first.
What about Terrence saying, if I'd known this, now I understand what Joseph was going through because it would have been you.
Oh,
and you're like, wow.
Nothing goes better with date
wrong.
night.
That's the wrong one.
It should have been you who left, not Joseph.
Because now it makes sense everything that Joseph was saying and how he was painting Joseph, Monty, and Taylor as a threesome, and it's like so far from the truth, right? Especially like the Monty part of it.
But this house meeting itself, like this was, of course, this is a bit uncomfortable. But on the other hand, Kyle kind of like, I think the people who need to be confronted here, namely Kyle and Michael and Brittany, they all. This is about all of them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there was important questions asked here, and
barely
I thought
Alyssa though.
And Alyssa, well, Alyssa's Alyssa.
Barely Alyssa. She was like barely a part of this conversation.
Right. She's like stunned by this. Like, I don't know what to make of this. But so he's like, well, but Michael, why don't you start explaining? And Michael starts like, so there was a conversation, right? And then Kyle's like, wait, let me just tell you something. And he's like, oh yeah. Right. But I think one thing that stood out to me in this meeting was from Taylor, actually. Mm-hmm. And she says something here to Kyle that we're just gonna play it.
As a Black woman in this world, I don't get the chance or opportunity, privilege, if you will, to be sat down and walked through these things.
Right. Okay. So the question here is if Taylor had screwed up in such a way like Kyle did here, would she not be afforded the same privilege of being? And you're saying that absolutely rang true to you.
Oh my gosh, no, dude. Whew, no.
Okay.
She would not. She would. Oh, she would be. Oh my gosh, she'd be drugged in the middle of the streets.
Is that just because she's a Black woman specifically?
The most ill-treated individual on the planet, right? And
especially in America, right?
Especially in America, is a Black women, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like systematic from anything from like medical, where they're not afforded the same type of treatment as other people because they're tougher, right? It's like really bad. If you raise your voice, you're the crazy Black woman, right? They're talking about Taylor being loud. When has Taylor ever been loud? Right?
Only when she's eating Lay's, and then she's
eating Lay's. Yeah. Right. It's like you can't win. Anything you do is considered wrong, right? You dress up, why you showing so much? You dress down, why like you're a prude, right? It's like a perfect storm of what's happening with women, what's happening with POCs, right? Mm-hmm. And it just kind of combines.
It's kind of like it's like that Venn diagram where everything's against you, right? Because and honestly, like I do know that. I do know about like the mistreatment of Black women and things like that, but it doesn't occur to me that that Kyle's getting kit gloves here because I'm of the same ethnicity or whatever.
No, I think that people genuinely like Kyle, and that's why he's getting that treatment from the cast, because and also the cast is a lot Taylor treatment aside is a lot nicer than previous casts before, because you're telling me if Aaron was there right, or Gina Marie, like they would be like, that's bullshit. Kyle did nothing wrong. You could just see that, right? Whereas I think that and also back to the Black women part, it isn't just white people that are terrible to Black women. Black men are also terrible to Black women as well. So it's like you're getting attacked from all sides. Right?
Yeah, like it's just like it's also like the whole, like, I guess the 2022 of it all, and like you brought up Big Brother 15, which was what, like 2013, right, or so. something like that. And like it's hard to imagine these conversations happening in those seasons, like those, like, so like and I think that's a good thing that we're at this place. But I think that a lot of these things I'm often like, I think this is complicated. I think this is like more like, it's not just so much that Kyle's bad and Michael's good or vice versa. It's that that there's a lot going on, and and I think that yes, Kyle came up in his little apology tour just way too like prepped,
but I put that on CBS, not Kyle.
Yeah, like I feel like these are good things, because at the end of the day, like I watch Big Brother because I want to see, I guess, this human experiment, I guess, like I know we watch it for different reasons, but like I kind of like seeing sort of like real conversations or learning things or what people learning from each other. We saw a lot of that in Big Brother Canada, and here it's more adversarial a lot of the times, right? I guess the way that Michael weaponized this against Kyle in this particular manner.
Do you think Kiefer would have sat on this news?
No.
Kiefer. I didn't.
A man with a mullet, big gullet, bigger heart. Let's go.
That's right. Yeah,
I deserve that. My headphone jack pulled out, so I didn't get to hear the rest.
I can play it again.
No. It's fine. Right. But that's just different people, and just like, once again, Big Brother Canada is a lot different in terms of how it handles a lot of its presentation in terms of feeds and also how the people itself are interacting with each other. Canada's a lot more multicultural than the States. And when I say multicultural, the multicultural is usually in a lot of the bigger cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where a lot of our population lives.
Correct.
Too.
But multicultural also extends to the fact that you can be in a very very your background not being diverse, like in Quebec, but there's Anglos and Francophones there.
So it's white people, but they're not all the same kind of white people, I guess.
Correct, right? There's different types, right? Mm-hmm. And people they're not just like in US. A lot of times people are American, and like you're either American or you're a foreigner. Whereas in Canada, you're not expected to shed your roots necessarily. You're expected to celebrate your roots, and we constantly bring the up that I'm not African American, I'm Trinidadian Canadian, right? Mm-hmm. All right.
Right, that's part of expression, whereas American culture, more mainstream, has had more of that melting pot sort of like,
you see the person dressed up like an American with an apple pie watching some baseball, right? Whereas people come over and they're able to find their tribe, but also able to interact, or the expectation is everyone an equal place kind of situation.
Right. I think a lot of these conversations are good things. I think that we're having, although it's painful at times, right? And it's uncomfortable at times and all those things. But like, I think a lot of it comes down to empathy and being able to empathize with somebody who's not the same as you, being able to understand those things. I think we've come a long way since I've been growing up in my lifetime, to from what I remember, like how much that kind of stuff used to be dismissed even like 10 years ago, right? And I think those are good things, but it's also where was I going with this? Like,
it's an awkward situation overall, and
it is.
And I think, okay, this has been bugging me about last season's cookout situation. I felt that they got away, and there was one conversation I felt that did not happen that should have happened, and that was with DK, right? Or DX.
With
right?
DX,
yeah. Right? I felt that he was kind of very sympathetic to the situation, but I don't know how one would feel like, why wasn't I included?
Right, because it was not specifically a persons of color alliance; it was a specifically Black alliance,
yes.
right? right? And so
because
Derek
there's never been an Asian winner before.
Right.
You can, yeah.
And there was somebody else. I think there was at least maybe.
So
but Derek
June
yeah.
won. But like, you know what I mean, right? It just.
But yeah, that was that. Well, I think I think we talked about that last season, and like it was kind of.
Well, I'm bringing it up again.
Well, I agree with you. I agree that it's problematic, but I think it was after the whole BLM and George Floyd. Even like I think that like a lot, like I think I understood it. I understood like this is the moment where we're going to make sure there's a black winner, no matter what. And so I sympathized with that, but I think like if you look at like Derek X is from his point of view, you're like, well,
and I think that the sympathy is always going to be there because I would like to put myself in other people's shoes, right? Because that's how I live my life and how I rationalize when biases are thrown my way, right? I try to assume positive intent, although as they didn't include this part of what was said, my Kyle said, why wasn't I, told or sat down about this? It wasn't included in the actual presentation of tonight's telecast, but Michael's like, it's not my job to educate you. And he's right. It's not like people's job to educate someone when they have these bias, right?
No.
I feel like we as individuals should set boundaries, right? And once we set boundaries, there's an expectation that those boundaries are going to be respected. If they're not, then you
have a problem.
Consequences are going to come from that, whatever it may be. I'm not necessarily saying violence, but I mean whether it be loss of friendships or conversations, hard-hitting conversations occur. But so I'll give you an example, right? And I'll try to be quick on this very quickly. I was having a conversation with a friend, and he was mentioning, he's from Australia. He was mentioning how there is a slang term for people who have red hair, who are black, called rangers, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, rangers as in like orangutan? And he's like, yeah. So I'm like, look, you hear the facial reaction. I'm like, look, I'm just letting it know right now. Don't you ever think about calling me that ever, right? And he's like, you're never going to color your hair. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if I don't color my hair.
No,
right?
yeah.
I'm telling you.
Even if if you want to, you still don't.
You don't call me that, right?
Right.
Right. I set boundaries, very clear boundaries on it, right? Sure, one might say, why would you even need to? Common sense alone says that isn't a thing to be mentioned. But, right?
He
felt a little too comfortable sharing that information about it that I'm just like, you see where that's located? I'm putting a fence around it. Don't let it cross that fence.
I agree with your direction towards your Australian friend there. Yes. No, that's no good, man. No good.
Don't worry, I still like him.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other conversation where like white people often try to make jokes to black people. Like they're like, it's funny, right? But people, I think this happens like just not with race. I think it happens with all kinds of things when people want to pick on people or tease people or even share something just generally shitty. They try to make it a joke. And
you're like, that wasn't funny. Doing, and you know what? It's all right to tell people that you don't think what they said is funny. Be clear in terms of how you feel, right? Once again, you set boundaries, right? Setting boundaries is a very important and healthy thing that everyone should do. I mentioned it before. I'll keep mentioning it again.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. And I think like it doesn't have to be like a capital crime if you misstep, but yeah, it's like okay.
Put Mary Beth's question up. We'll answer.
All right. She's been always wanted to say something, or what she said. Michael and Brittany were trying to save Taylor and Monty. Okay,
sure, but once again, you're weaponizing a situation. Okay.
Question here though is, do you think Kyle would have made it as far if Michael and Brittany would have told sooner? Like what? So if they had said this 3 weeks ago, what would have changed?
Amira wouldn't have been voted out. Wait,
no, this is before. This is after Amira. So this was around the time.
Was it Indies?
We're talking week 5, right? So this is around, I guess, the week Indy was evicted. I'm just trying to remember, like, when week 5 was exactly. So week 5 was the Michael HOH event. That was Daniel and Kyle on the block.
So Kyle would have been gone.
So that's when yeah. Well, then yes, I definitely think if this information had come out when Kyle was on the block, yeah,
Kyle would have been gone.
Right. So Michael and Brittany kept this to make sure that it was Daniel who went, because Daniel obviously wasn't working with them and was a threat to them. Yeah. So yeah, like it's like I think that they're gonna not be able to necessarily explain that or look at, like, they want to act like they're the heroes, but they're not. They're really not here. Like they did that a lot of this badly, and even if Michael does end up winning this, like somehow, like I think like it's going to be, he'll be like in the Jackson Mickey category, where you're like, yeah, you won, but like, yeah, you won, but who cares? Like, you know, it's yeah, it's kind of whatever. Okay, so Kyle does go up here. We have the veto meeting. I took some screenshots, but ultimately, you know, what was different about this veto meeting was that Kyle's like, hey, I know I'm up. Can I just, like, you know, he's trying. The apology tour continues throughout this, you know, and like the house guests are receptive. Like, well, I don't know about Michael, but it's
Michael is always awkward. So
yeah, they said he's playing a flawless social game tonight. I don't know about that. Me. Right, but Monty's like, you know, man, I will help you. I will help you out here. Is kind of what he says. Then we go to. Oh, Miss Alyssa, and the breakup here with
up.
Oh my gosh, what do you make of this?
I talked about this.
I know, but
oh my gosh. Okay,
she was double down on this guy, and it's not because of the alliance things, the fact that he wasn't doing it, because she had plenty of time to be mad at him about those things.
This is damage control.
This was damage. She didn't want to be attached to him anymore.
She's like, I'll wait to see how the dust settles on the outside. That's just say it. Just say it.
Right.
This is not good for my brand. She should have just said.
What did she say in this episode? Like, I didn't pull it as a clip, but she says something like, I've made a lot.
Yeah, I spend too much time trying to fix broken men.
Grown ass men. How old is Alyssa?
24.
24. Like how many relationships have you fixing grown ass men with? Like,
probably a lot. And look, I'm not trying to like slut shame or anything like that, because, you know, Kyle, you know, it takes two to tangle. It takes two to tango, right?
Yeah. Or to do it on a pool toy.
But you break up with the person, and then hours later, after this conversation that occurs where she broke up with him, she's flirting with him, she's snuggling with him, and the camera cutaways, and, you know, we're left to assume certain things. And I'm just like, like, why? And I think
she wants to be friends with benefits now.
I guess, but let's not. I feel like this was unfair characterization for Kyle. Like, oh well, you know, everyone kind of separates themselves from him. Kind of. She like, her presentation is very interesting. Of always being a victim, more or less, when I think she is also responsible of the fate that has befell her as well, is what I mean.
I feel like he never fought for me at the end of the day. Like,
yeah, he never fought for her, but she never fought for herself either.
True.
Let's be real here, you know, and like
she never stood up for him when he was telling her, "Don't say anything." Like, he was pretty crappy, no doubt, but like, she also just went along for the ride as well. right? And she did not show a lot of agency at all, and she, used their relationship about, getting together and staying together and stuff. Like a lot of the things they were mad about Taylor supposedly doing, Alyssa was doing herself.
Right. And I think this just looks like, I agree, damage control. But I guess like Alyssa's weighing her options. She's like, I can't like double down on this relationship either. So after everything that's going on,
chances are, well, I'll mention this at the end of
and then we get to Monty and
this was the main event of this entire episode. Honestly,
where they're both having a cry. They're both Kyle's got the blanket.
Their blanket must reek with just the amount of tears that have been on it.
Yeah, it just smells of Kyle's tears. This conversation powerful, and especially what I think more in terms of what Monty was talking about, his own background and going to high school. He talked about going to an upscale, all privileged, I guess a privileged white school, or mostly white people in Delaware. And that everybody thought he was there to play sports, and like I was like, oh man, and that he had these friends and that he lost a lot of them over race issues, and I was just like, man, like this is like
it happens.
Yeah, it's sad, it's sad to hear, and you don't these are things people don't normally talk about, but I think that it was it made me feel more. I thought it made Monty more relatable. I thought overall, and Kyle's just like, I want to be your friend. I can't take it. But I was impressed with Monty throughout this. Like the way he's been handling this. He goes and talks to Taylor after this conversation, which I thought was an interesting conversation between these two. And they basically said,
wait, I disagree. I think it was not a conversation. It was Monty talking and Taylor barely moving her head until the end, where she's like, we're aligned. We're on the same. Yes.
Well, okay, but basically so at least I liked what Monty was saying. And it was that Monty was saying, like, we have to go after Michael. He's going to win this game if we don't take him out. We have to take that shot. And I guess what you're saying is that because Taylor's saying nothing, because at the end of the day, her loyalty is still to Brittany and Michael.
Foolishly,
but it is, right? But and like she has reason not to fully trust Monty. Monty has not always been looking out for Taylor. He's looking out for Taylor, and that's his last name. But
the hope to me was that spoilers.
Well,
Lord, oh my god!
You have what's that? Spoilers?
Yeah, I looked.
You know who the new HOH is?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Anyways,
right. Mary Bassett, she's tired of Monty. He's going to put a target on his back.
But he's not wrong, though. The problem is
right.
He's talking, and I feel like everyone's kind of like, yes, right? But they're not.
He has to be the one to. He has to be the one to take the shot at Michael, or some, sure, he can rally.
He has some agency, I feel, recently in his game. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I couldn't help but watch this HOH competition kick off tonight and go, it's going to be Michael who's going to win this. I'll be shocked if it's not. I know you know the answer, so don't react too much.
The answer.
Okay, I think we can wrap here up on this eviction because eventually, we get the speeches here with Kyle and Taylor. They're whatever.
So okay, during the veto meeting, supposedly Taylor had this very impassioned speech. And how much did we see of it? Nothing.
Yeah, it was whatever. Like they're both. It was kind of like, and then we got the. I think
where
Michael,
they should have just cut this this vote and just have it does everyone agree? Like I get a feeling that everyone's voting out Kyle, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone, put your hands up. Okay, Kyle. Like they could have just probed it.
Like we didn't need to go through the motions here. You're saying this was dead man walking. I thought especially Michael came across quite cold in his vote here.
It's like, don't do shout outs, please. Come on. Like this is not a shout outs situation. I'm talking
Terrence,
about Brittany.
He shout outs to his
Rihanna
wife
too.
Oh, it was the whole thing with Monty here, where he called her, "You're better than Rihanna." I didn't even get it what he was trying to tell her.
He's been constantly every single week trying to, call up to Rihanna, and then
So this was a way of giving a Rihanna shout out by disguising it as a Julie compliment.
Yes.
She was like, "I'll take it, I guess." Like, whatever. What are you voting for? Oh yeah, it's Kyle, right? So Kyle goes out here 5-0. It was awkward on the exit here too. Like,
he closed the door.
They told him to keep it open, and then he closes it. He goes, "Oh, sorry," right? But I was really holding my breath here to see if he would be the first one to get booed since, I guess, Christine, right?
Yeah.
She was the last one to really get hazed.
He never did. Like, even what Christine did, honestly, what Aaron wasn't like just like
Aaron
one
was worse,
situation.
for sure. I don't think Christine deserved it.
I didn't think Christine deserved it as much.
I don't think, but
Aaron, a lot worse.
Aaron certainly did, but it kind of set up that trend. But it was more. Instead, it was not a cheer. It was not a boo. It was more like a little golf clap. Or
there was people who were not clapping at all. And I think that was their reaction. That it was just like, if I'm not allowed to boo, I might as well not clap.
Right. So there was a bit, that's fine too. Yeah, Kyle's face for this.
During this interview, his face was like, "There's still more questions."
Is it everything about what I did with the race thing? Is that all? Julie just look at him in this episode.
Julie, kid gloves on, Kyle.
She's like, she's a pro. She's done this to Aaron Grease. She knows what to do. Well, that was more about like anti-Asian comments. So she was especially
get him the rice. Like,
all that.
That was taken out of context. Like,
wait, what was the context?
There was no context in terms of Aaron. It was just.
I know there wasn't,
but it wasn't even just her though. It was like a combination of people there in the house.
No, she was like the ringleader, but it wasn't.
But David, Gina Marie, even it wasn't Spencer that season. There was a whole bunch of people. There
was a bunch of the girls.
Amanda, right? All of like even what's his name who won?
Andy.
Andy even was saying a whole bunch of stuff. That season was like really bad.
Right. Why we never speak of it, and like it was just interesting, always like kind of just looking at Kyle's like. He was never like looking at people. He was constantly like bringing his hands in. He was like, just trying to get through this. And I get that this has got to be tough on him, but like, he also made this bed, so he's got to lie in it, and deal with it. So
he didn't have his blanket with him. That's why he was.
He had no blanket. This is blanket separation anxiety, I think, is what we're seeing here. And they're like, get ready for the extended interview.
Oh Lord, he's like. Whoa.
He is not ready for that extended interview. It's good, and he's gonna go to jury house. I'm interested to see how that plays out. What he tells them exactly. I'm imagining he's just gonna tell them everything, but it's gonna be his version of things. And then whoever comes next after him that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out too. Jaemeel, there's still 23 days left.
Yeah.
How the hell is that possible? Like.
Double eviction and buyback.
We're only in week 8, and we have 4 weeks left. Yeah, so it's something crazy. Just quickly, I want to just acknowledge our draft.
Wow.
Jane lost Kyle tonight, of course. The last pick of our draft. Does our draft look really good that we took Kyle last?
Let's see. Jen has an all-star of a pick
with Paloma.
Way to go, Jen! Right?
But Jen has Michael too.
No, I mean like Jen had, Jen, that's what I mean. Jen made a all-star of her choice with number 4.
Yeah, well, she also had Paloma, so with her 12th pick.
The gives and takes.
Jane took Turner first overall, so she got stuck with Kyle, right?
Yeah,
in our draft.
But technically, wasn't looking like a bad choice,
Wasn't looking like bad until this all happened, right? It was really like this was more like this. Like we said, we knew about this 3 weeks ago, but it was like, would the scandal come out or not? And of course it did. But there's a chance that Michael and Brittany never revealed this, as well, if it didn't suit them. Yeah. And so it's a very different game for Kyle in that case, right? But Jaemeel, you're looking Taylor and Alyssa still on your team there.
Two goats.
I don't know. I guess Taylor's got the better shot of winning of the two of them,
which is crazy.
Yeah, but it's not looking great for either of them. Michael is almost like, he doesn't want to win Big Brother. He has to win Big Brother. He has
to win.
Brittany, I don't know. Like, I feel like Michael and Brittany after this week, it will be interesting to see what happens. What about my pick, Monty? Do you feel like he can go the distance?
Monty has, you know what? I think that one thing that will come across from Kyle is Terrence, Monty, and Taylor will get a lot of positive things said in the jury house, I feel.
Yeah, I think so too.
And Monty, if Monty gets to the end, people like Monty. I don't think people will have a problem giving him money. Now, will liking him over if he's going against Michael? I think that's really hard, right?
Right.
It depends on how people feel. Yeah, that's
ultimately what I hope for. Is that we'll get a great final two. I know that's counterintuitive because the whole idea
Alyssa and Taylor final two.
Well, the whole idea of when you get to final three is that you're supposed to take whoever you can beat at the end of the final two. So to get the two best players in the final two,
Terrence, Alyssa, Taylor final three. Okay. That would be like, oh my gosh, who is going to who? It's not who's going to lose. Who's going to win? How are they going to are they going to accidentally win HOH? Final right. HOH?
Yeah. And Jaemeel, next week. Double.
Which I'm like, wait, what?
And we still need 23 more days? We're going to be down to 6 after that. No, even less. We're going to be down to 5.
Yeah.
I
think they might do a 2-week week, maybe.
Right. It's good. I think that they are going to do a 2-week. I think that the final week's going to be long. So anyway, we got this thing. What did you think about this HOH competition? Oh, and the fact that we have Burning Bot coming, Zingbot himself. He looks like the Wicker Man or something there.
I'm like, wait, which is the front? Which is the back?
This was the front. This is what the back would look like.
Yeah.
We're getting Zingbot. I guess technically he's coming tonight, but he's going to be shown on Sunday.
Yep.
Michael, very, very happy.
Yep.
With this, he will not be denied. And I felt like you could have shown this competition on the episode. This was going to be over in about 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah,
you could do this. Over.
I didn't need to see a commercial for the Love Boat show.
The Love Boat with Star Trek's own Rebecca Romaine and Jerry O'Connell.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So, but they don't give it to us here. I know there was a lot to fit in on the episode, but they could have. This is like a double eviction style HOH competition where you can fit this. I don't know. I guess you're only taking away time from Zingbot on Sunday, guys. What are you doing? Anyway, so let's get to the spoilers. We need to know who this next HOH is heading into this double eviction week. If you don't want to know, get out of here now. We're going to talk about it. But let's break it down and speculate for what we have coming up next as we go into our final 7 for week 9.
So the dust is cleared, and we have our first 3-time HOH, Michael.
Oh my God, no. Say it ain't so.
Oh my gosh, this man.
I don't want to get picked for the veto. I have to get picked for the veto.
Oh Lord.
I don't want to be the HOH. Okay, so he won't be evicted next week.
No. Unless it's in the double. He can't play in the double.
But he can play the veto.
Yeah.
And he could win the veto and save himself.
Well, whoever wins that veto, if it's not Michael or Brittany, Michael's going home.
He better be. This guy is unstoppable. He's the Terminator.
Yep.
Like, how is he this good at everything?
It was a puzzle.
I knew he was going to win it. As soon as like the competition started, I'm like, Michael's winning this. There's Monty might come close to him,
but Taylor was looking pretty strong in terms of
Taylor was looking all right.
People. She was lapping people in terms of putting up puzzle pieces, but it's still a puzzle.
Do we have any sense of who the runner-up was? It would have been if they had mentioned it, right? And like in passing. But yeah. Oh man, I'm not cheering for this guy. I'm cheering actively against him. No?
Yeah, I won't blame you. I'm trying to look to see if there's anything.
Yeah, like I don't know, like, or at least
Kyle told Alyssa, okay. Taylor's like, I'm very happy they didn't boo Kyle. Taylor, Kyle told Alyssa to close the door quickly in case they booed.
Is the move if you can't get out Michael in the double, do you go after Brittany?
It depends who wins HOH.
Who? Okay, just new question. Who do you expect Michael will target this week?
Oh, Alyssa and Terrence.
Alyssa and Terrence, but like we know Michael better than that. I think he'll want to go for
backdoor either Monty or.
Yeah, I agree. He might put up Terrence and Alyssa initially, but I don't know if that's what he'll be satisfied with.
Yeah, he'll backdoor either Turner or Monty.
And which of those two?
People say that he doesn't have the votes for Monty though.
But he could if you put up Turner, he could get Turner out.
Sorry, if you put Turner,
if you're not Michael, if you're let's say you're Taylor, okay, like Michael's the HOH. So, do you want to see Monty go?
If you're Taylor,
yeah,
no, you don't want Monty to go.
Do you want Turner to go? I think probably more than Monty.
Definitely, Turner puts you up.
Is there a possibility that Michael puts up Turner and Monty?
No.
Why
comes
why
down. Do that to Monty? No.
Too much of a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And plus, you don't have the votes to take out Monty.
And good point here from Mary. You only need 2 votes this week.
I know, but no, isn't it 2-2 with a tiebreaker?
We're down to 7 people.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes, Mary, you are correct.
Right,
but are you going to get Taylor's vote for Monty? Probably not.
Right, and where's Terrence going to fall?
Terrence is just holding on for dear life.
But his vote becomes more and more valuable each week that this goes on.
Yeah, but you also want to keep Terrence because he's a goat.
He's a goat, but so is Alyssa.
Yes, and you want more goats that you can choose from the herd.
Okay, but let's say Michael puts up Terrence and Alyssa, and Monty wins the veto, and he says nominations are staying the same.
Then you vote out Alyssa.
You voted Alyssa. Right. But my guess is, here's my prediction for the week.
Unless Brittany's relationship with Alyssa is so strong now because Kyle is no longer there that you take that shot at Terrence and then you bring Alyssa in as your fourth.
Well, yeah. Where is Alyssa going to fall now that she has no Kyle?
The hope is that Brittany is able to pick her up.
The hope of Brittany.
Because Brittany and Alyssa were having a very strong relationship that was being built prior to, Direfest. Really,
don't forget strong. They were girls together.
Yes, but even more so than that. Like they were talking a lot and sharing a lot of details and before Brittany shared a lot about her personal life and her profession with Alyssa. She helped Alyssa with some issues she was dealing with using hypnotherapy.
Hypnotherapy.
Yes.
Well, that is her, her profession.
Now you all know my real career is being a hypnotherapist.
That's right. We do know that, Brittany. Wow. Okay. No. Okay.
Turner is caressing Alyssa and Kyle's nasty blanket.
No, is Turner trying to steal it? No, Turner already has a girlfriend.
Well, never know.
Well, I guess Alyssa's single technically now, but it's but to take his blanket. I don't know. That seems like too far there, Turner. Too soon. Anyway, wow. Okay, Jaemeel, next week at this time.
Wait.
Yeah. You have something to say?
Oh, hold on.
Uh-oh. You what? You got something?
It's Alyssa saying that she loves Kyle to the cameras.
Alyssa told the what?
Yeah.
She broke up with him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I met Kyle, and he is like the most amazing person ever. And I'm willing to risk it all in this house just to kiss this man. And he is the best kisser ever.
Good thing he's good at kissing.
Twitter is saying that Turner wants Alyssa bad now. What about Megan? Isn't that Turner's girl?
Sorry?
Isn't that Turner's girl, Megan?
No.
But when Turner came into the house, like his profile said he was single. So I'm confused, but maybe we'll see how this will play out. Are you shipping Turner and Alyssa?
No.
No, I don't think I am either.
Team Tyler's van, okay? That is my that is my choice. That's my ship. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you know the story of Team Tyler's van?
No.
Okay. Well, the teams really started with Twilight. So there's Team Edward and Team
okay,
Jacob.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay. Yeah.
So Team Tyler's van is the van that almost hit what was her name? What is the main protagonist of Twilight? Bella. Sorry, Bella. Bella. Almost hit Bella. And Team Tyler van shipping means we wish that Edward didn't save her and she just died.
I think it was Bella Lugosi.
No, Bella Swan.
Oh,
I remember it. Folks, if you want to come at me, I've read all the Twilight books. They suck, but I read them all. So,
you read cover to cover?
Cover to cover, multiple times. It is so bad. So bad.
Yeah,
Watch the movies too.
I think I got through 2 movies, maybe 1. I don't know.
Talk to Michael about me going to see the movies and people kicking my chair because I was laughing so hard and yelled at me and told me, "Hey, respect the movie."
Yeah, we're trying to watch this movie. You're like, this is like the book at all, which also were bad, but this is even worse.
And if people want to know what I was laughing at, it was when Bella was trying to see Edward because she was, Edward left her, and she, we're just losing viewers. Me talking about Twilight. So is when she was on the bike with Jacob and she was being reckless so that she could see Edward. And then she's on the bike like, ah! And I laughed. Anyways, moving on. Big Brother.
Big Brother. Wow, we got another. Okay, but this time next week, please, my prayer. I'm not religious, but I need to see Michael evicted. Like that's the justice I'm looking for.
Hopefully, Angelina, Andrea Bocelli and Celine Dion's "The Prayer" is answered for you.
I hope so. I will. I'm not religious, but that's what I'm going for here. All right, guys. Well, we're coming up on midnight, so I think we're gonna close down for tonight. Wow, what a week in Big Brother, and 3 more to go. So here we go. I think
3 more weeks. Rest of the season.
3 more weeks. 3 more weeks. This is gonna cross over with Survivor for sure.
Yeah,
for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
because Survivor starts September 12th. That's coming up soon.
Ooh.
But we hope you have a happy Labor Day weekend, everybody.
Yes.
Down here in Burlington, it's Rib Fest.
Ooh, this weekend?
Canada's largest Rib Fest.
Is it running on Monday too?
I think they're usually like pulling stuff down by Monday. Yeah, it will be on Monday because it's Labor Day. Yeah, it will still be going.
Maybe you might see me in the neck of the woods.
Well, you can stop by if you want somewhere to eat the ribs. You can come by my apartment. I'm right across the street from where they have the festival. Stop hating on Dave. That's right.
I wasn't hating on Dave.
Hey, I like it, Mary. Don't. I don't know what he was doing, but I'm glad you told him to stop. So yeah, it's all good, guys. So if you are down in Burlington, come by the Rib Fest and come by the podcast studio, if you will. All right. What else, guys? We're gonna get out of here. Check out our coverage on Sunday's episode and next Wednesday and Thursday. Also check out Live Long and Podcast, our Star Trek themed channel. Monday nights, Enterprise. Tuesday nights, Deep Space Nine rewatch. Right now, we're doing we're into Lower Decks season 3. All the reactions and reviews over there. Davin Scalehorn was on tonight with Dave Pugsley. They were reviewing The Least Dangerous Game, the newest episode, which I really liked. So I'm going to be listening to their review shortly. They helped fill in tonight so I could visit with my aunt who was in town for the wedding and everything else. So and also check out Trivial Debates, our monthly show. We argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. The most recent edition was on August 21st. We are going to be having one coming up on August. I think it's going to be on September 18th rather. Is probably the one we're going to be doing next. Dave Tilley can't make that one, but I do have our host, Davin Scalehorn, along with Eamon Mader and Chris Seymour already confirmed in. So there is an open spot out there, everybody.
Chris.
I'm music themed Trivial Debates is coming up for September.
Okay.
Yeah. So we tried to get Tilly, but he couldn't do it because it's the day after his bachelor party, and it's not going to work out for him. So we'll figure out who that's going to be.
Find someone.
Check out Locutors a Track with Davin and Dave. X-Men, the animated series X-Rated with Davin and Andre every Tuesday, going through that series. Let's talk about fighting games with Eamon Mader and also Sam Jurka, and the Hellbound podcast with Michael Chan and Alex Blackburn. All right, everybody. What to go out on here? What's the best thing? But I think we all know what it is. All right, we'll see you next time, everybody. Have a great night.
I feel like you never fought for me. At the end of the day,
I poured my entire heart and soul into this relationship.
And that's just not somebody that I want to have babies with.
I'm